Chapter 1, Fuel or Experience. This $2 hot dog? Smart money. This $500 dinner? Also smart money. It's this $27 dinner sitting right in the middle. That's the worst deal on the whole board. Because every meal out is one of two purchases, fuel or an experience, and there is one exact dollar where fuel turns into experience. Find that dollar and you'll eat out for the same money you spend now and never feel robbed again. Everyone believes cheap eating out is the responsible version of eating out. Keep it under $25 and you're being good with money. I believed that for all my life. For years, my responsible dinner was the same $11 combo, 4 nights a week, and I called it discipline. So here's the trap, and I'll settle it before we rank a single thing. Being responsible with restaurant money was never about spending less. It's about not paying restaurant prices for gas station value. Same money, spent on the right side of one line. Nobody's asking you to spend more. So, every level of eating out ranked $2 to $500. 5 bands, F through S. One question sorts the entire board. What did the money actually buy? And the answer condemns a tier you would never suspect. It isn't the one in red. Chapter 2, the metric. Before we descend, one measurement. Because experience sounds like something a candle company would say. It isn't. It's countable, and you can run it tonight. Here's the test. After any meal out, ask one question. Would you think about it tomorrow, unprompted? Score it 1 to 5. A 5 replays in your head on the drive home. A 1 is gone before the check clears. That number is the experience, measured. Nothing mystical about it. And look at what it exposes. Fuel almost never clears a 2. A real experience lives at 4 and 5. The gap between them is everything you're actually paying a restaurant for. The room, the service, the people across the table. And the retelling. The fact that you're still describing it next week. The food is just a delivery mechanism. Look at any bill and notice how little of it is groceries. One thing to hold on to, the $2 hot dog at 1 a.m. at the exact right moment can score a perfect 5. Remember that. It breaks the rule in a way that ends up proving it. I built a free dashboard that runs this math for you. Every rating rolls into 0 to 100 worth it score, sorted by price band. So you can see exactly where your money buys an experience and where it just buys fuel. Links below stay for the price band that surprised me. Metric in hand, down to the bottom of the board. Chapter 3, F tier, pure fuel. F, $1 to $24. Observe the specimen in its habitat, the $9 value meal in the hard plastic booth, the $13 food court tray under mall lighting, the $2 hot dog at the gas station counter. Note what is absent. No one greets you, no one pours anything, nothing is remembered. This is not dining out, this is refueling with extra steps. And to be fair, the food is fine. The exchange rate is the crime. You could have matched it for $6 at home. Now, the math, and this is where it stings. Count the drink and the tip, and these stops average about $20 a piece. Call it 3 a week, $60, and you've spent $3,120 a year. The year I actually added mine up, it was $4,300, and I couldn't tell you a single meal in it. $4,000, 0 retellings. The most expensive nothing you will ever own. And somehow, this still isn't the worst deal on the board. The worst one charges double per plate, scores exactly the same on memory, and most people eat there twice a week. Chapter 4, C tier, fuel in a costume. C, $25 to $49. The tier I warned you about. Here, finally, the food gets decent. The $27 chain sit down with the bottomless breadsticks, the $34 sports bar dinner you spend staring at your phone, and right on cue, the impersonation begins. C books a table. C charges night out money. C hands you an evening you cannot recall by Thursday. Study the anatomy. A room, technically. Service, technically. But run the test. Would you think about it tomorrow? And C scores like fuel. A 2 in a blazer. At least the hot dog is honest about what it is. C is fuel in a costume. billed as an experience. And that gap between the invoice and the memory is the single biggest leak in how you spend on food. Not the splurges, this. And here's what the whole climb has been showing you. Every dollar past the cost of the food buys one of two things: costume or product. There's an exact price where the costume comes off and the product switches on. It's one tier up, and it's the line I promised you in the first sentence. Chapter 5, B tier plus the line. B, $50 to $99. The lights come on, the neighborhood bistro, real cooking, a room with a pulse, service that clocks you exist, 65 ahead, and you'd call it a really good night, mean it, and still mean it that weekend. The vibe is a coin flip, which is why it's B and not A. But B is where the product becomes undeniable. Once you've felt the difference between $65 and $25, you cannot unfeel it, which gives us the line, the exact dollar from the very first sentence. It's 50. 50 bucks is where fuel ends and experience begins. And it flips every budget you've ever tried, because the move isn't a ceiling, it's a floor. If a meal out won't clear $50, don't eat out. Cook, spend $5, and bank the rest. Do that, and the math turns strange in your favor. Cut a few fuel stops a week, cook those nights instead, and you bank about $1,000 a year. Without eating out one single time, that mattered. $1,000 is 2 seats at the very top of this board, where the numbers stop making sense. One dinner up there beats 250 hot dogs. I'm about to prove that literally. The hot dog keeps its job, by the way. It just stops pretending to be a night out. Chapter 6, A&S, the full product. A, $100 to $199. Occasion energy. A room you dressed for, plates made with intent. Service that read the table before you sat down. Real retellings and sustainable about once a month. But A, at its best, is still an incredible version of dinner. S isn't dinner at all. S, $200 to $500 a seat. The full product, nothing missing. 3 hours of choreography. A room built for exactly this. A meal you retell for years. Now the equation I promised. $500 buys one S-tier seat, or 250 of those hot dogs. The 250 hot dogs vanish without a trace, every time. The one dinner is still paying you at a dinner party in 2036. And yes, this is the part that sounds like a rich guy rationalizing an expensive dinner. So let me be straight about the one assumption, holding up this entire board, that the retelling is worth something. If a great meal leaves you nothing, no memory, no story, no one across the table, then ignore me and buy the hot dog. But you don't actually believe that. Or you wouldn't remember your best meal and forget every value combo you've ever eaten. The fuel leaves nothing. The experience leaves something. That is the whole board. So the top seat isn't a splurge. It's the twice a year payoff you funded by refusing to bleed $20 at a time into nothing. Which brings us back to the hot dog. At 1 a.m., at the perfect moment, it scores a 5. And it is still F tier, because a flawless fuel stop is still a fuel stop. The score tells you what it was. The band tells you what you paid for. Final board. S, the 10-year meal. B, where experience begins, at $50. F, the tank. At least it's honest. C, the tank in a costume. The one quietly robbing you. The free worth it score dashboard is below. Rate your next 5 meals, and it shows you, on one screen, which bands are buying you experiences and which are just buying fuel.